Continuing. Okay. This gun. Huh? Suddenly, while investigating the corner of the wall, I saw something out of place. Should be the corner of the room, that is. This gun, why is it so far away in a corner of the room? I picked it up off the floor and checked it. I felt a heavy, peculiar feeling of how real it was, but I couldn't find anything particularly strange. It's just a gun that doesn't change much, like the other guns that are on display. Was it just a little far away? Maeda, what are you doing? What is it, Teruya? You should take your hands off that gun right now. Wait, this must be some misunderstanding. I'm just trying to investigate over here. That gun, it will blow up. Eh? Blow up? What are you talking about? What are you doing now you've decided to kill? It's a shame for me to tell you this, but it would be a big deal if I were in your shoes right now. So never touch that gun. That's not it. I was just trying to investigate. This is a misunderstanding. Why would I try to kill you? You weren't trying to shoot me? That's right. So what did you mean by this blowing up? Forget it, it's nothing. What? Teruya's sudden behavior is strange, but according to his words, this could be dangerous, so I put the pistol in its original position and decided to leave it alone. However, Teruya's strange remarks feels like something is odd. I'll take note of it. Corner gun. Teruya's behavior. Oh, the smell. This is the source of the smoke. It's a military smoke screen that is often used for strategic purposes in modern warfare, as it was on the ground and still spreading a little bit of smoke from it. Also, close to the smoke bomb, there was a flash grenade that had been used and became an empty steel barrel. Flashbang and smoke screen. These were also... When Teruya and I opened the door at first to get into the arsenal this morning, in an instant a tremendous light and sound came upon me. At the same time, the smoke screen spread like a mist. Looking at this far, no matter what I think, these grenades can be affirmed to be the cause of the situation. The question is who would do this, and what happened while we were confused? Was it also the culprit? In the most realistic case, when we opened the arsenal, the killer was already inside the arsenal. Even if it was estimated from the time of death of Haruhiko, the timing was right, and it was an absolute soundproof arsenal. No matter how loud it was, it would have been impossible to have been noticed. There's only one entrance to the arsenal. In order to escape, they would have had no way but to meet us outside. Was a smoke screen and flashbang used to avoid that encounter? However, when I recall the situation in the morning, it would have been difficult to say that a person would artificially come out at the same time we opened the door. Oh, no, wait. This is... A thick wooden plank was stuck in the inner handles of the arsenal door, and now it was in a state of being doubled towards the opening of the door. Something that I heard right before opening the door with Teruya this morning. It looked like it was a wooden board. The overall development that can be inferred so far is the thick plank was clasped in the door of the arsenal, and the flash and smoke grenades were placed on top of the plank. If that happens, then when you forcibly open the door from the outside, the board gets crushed and the placed grenades fall to the floor. That shock triggered the grenades. But something feels weird. In the end, if it was meant to be used by the killer to get out of the arsenal through the enormous light and sound, was it necessary to use this cumbersome method? I can't even guess what the killer's goal was. Flash and smoke grenades and wooden plank. All the guns. This one, nope. This gun. This is a pistol. It's located on the immediate vicinity of Haruhiko. Then this pistol could be the weapon that killed Haruhiko. Or so I thought, but I soon realized I was wrong. The guns are all scattered on the floor. There wasn't only one gun that fell on the floor. Perhaps it was the criminal's actions. Most of the guns fell on the floor and were mixed randomly. From this point on, I don't know which gun was the one that directly killed Haruhiko. It would be difficult to conclude that this is the gun used for the killing because it was the closest one. It seems that the guns were all scattered in order to prevent the real one from being found. I should check things out. this gun. Okay, so I guess the only gun I can interact with is the blown up one. What is this? At first, there was no distinction from the tin blood on the floor. But when I looked closely, I felt something. It was like the remnants of something other than blood was stuck on the floor. A gun? Is it really? It was so disastrously destroyed that there were almost no form left. But I almost thought it was of a gun form of parts. Huh? Okay, whatever. It wasn't just because of the destruction, but a large amount of blood was on each piece. Because of the lighting on the floor, it was difficult to see it clearly. How could it be destroyed this way, though? It's like seeing a bloody octopus. Now that doesn't make sense. While observing the remains of the destroyed gun, I suddenly found something noticeable. This gun, it's loaded with bullets. In my mind, I checked around the other guns, but all of the magazines were empty. For this to be the only one destroyed, a small number of bullets were loaded. The arsenal is basically unloaded, and the bullets were loaded that you load separately are stuck in the magazine. Because of these conditions, and the fact that there's only one loaded with bullets in this gun means there is a possibility that this is the murder weapon. Well, what's weird about that is Kinjo, they would have had to unload. Kinjo would have passed out loaded guns, right? For a suicide thing, not unloaded ones. So they'd have to have unloaded all of the guns that Kinjo loaded. Destroyed gun. Okay, blood. You can do the blood stain somehow. How do you interact with the blood stains? I don't know, that's maybe part of the body thing. Let's get the finger pieces. There's blood splattered in this area too. I was trying to check the condition of the guns on display. There was blood on the display, but then I looked up close, I witnessed even more grotesque sight. Fingers? It was human fingers, no matter how you look at it. And of course, the owner of these fingers was Haru. I know Haruhiko's body had a ruptured hand in addition to the gunshot wound in the chest. Among these, his index finger and middle finger fell off from his hand. His fingers lie here as proof. But why are his fingers here? At first glance, it was far away from Haruhiko's body. From the shape of the blood, it seems like he began to walk after his fingers got cut. No, it's the opposite. It is likely that this rather than his body was moved, just by taking a glance on the floor. Should I consider the possibility that the killer moved the body for some reason? Severed fingers. No, we would move the body, not the fingers. The fingers wouldn't just like drip blood all over that much. Can I investigate the Monokuma? Oh, Maeda, welcome back. Monokuma, why are you here? Geez, why are you treating me so harshly? I served you a meal as promised, didn't I? Did you eat your food? I don't have time for your nonsense jokes. Disappear. Why are you so angry, I wonder? Anyway, I've forgotten something, so I can deliver it to you. It's Monokuma File 4. Oh, right. Weak reaction, Maeda-kun, you baka. Mulberry. Monokuma File 4. It's already the 4th file. Now let's stop thinking like that. My only option is to think about the case. This is a Monokuma file left behind by Monokuma. That doesn't seem like much help, but I'll have to read it first. The victim was Haruhiko Kobashikawa. The estimated time of death is about 6 a.m. The body was found in the arsenal. The cause of death was excessive bleeding due to a gunshot wound to the right chest. In addition, the index finger and middle finger of his right hand were ruptured and broken. And amputated, not broken. Gunshot wound. This is the first time I saw the arsenal in the ballroom. I guessed it vaguely. From this fact, the intake seems to be a gun. The time of death here is about 6 a.m. The time was lost when I spent it in the ballroom, but went to the dormitory to change my clothes a little earlier. I checked the current time was around 9 a.m. That means Haruhiko's death was less than 3 hours. I got up after listening to the announcement at 7 a.m. this morning, so the incident really happened quite early this time. This time the time of death is properly written, and I guess the cause of death too. There was a trap in the Monokuma file for the previous case. There was a confusion at the time because it didn't write down whether it was AM or PM, but fortunately there seems to be no doubt about this Monokuma file. But that's it, this Monokuma file is just that, no special clues to be found in it. No, at least we can know the estimated time of death. Let's take a note of it. It's Haruhiko's body. It's no different from our friend who have died so far. It's those cold, empty eyes. We are alive today because you are dead. Don't you think this is absurd? There's no way that Haruhiko, who had passed away in such a devastating manner, would answer me. But the class trial still remains. If you can't find the culprit who killed you, we will all die. By all means, I'll find the one who killed you, Haruhiko. I won't make your death in vain. After expressing minimal condolences to Haruhiko, as if making a prayer, I began to investigate his body. First, the fatal wound that can be considered as the direct cause of death must be a gunshot wound to the chest. In the case of friends who have died so far, if they used a hammer, a knife, or a plaster weapon, that makes the murder weapon bloody. In the case of Haruhiko, it's because Monokuma prepared an arsenal. It was shot because the treasure provided an inspiration to kill him, or the. However, I don't really know how to deal with this, as ordinary students like me don't have the slightest idea of how one feels as being shot. The murder weapon is a gun. Even if it was a gun, what kind of gun was it? In addition to the gunshot wound in the chest, there's something suspicious. Haruhiko's right hand. Blech. His hand was devastatingly destroyed, so much that I couldn't see it with my eyes open. It was literally destroyed. The index and middle fingers were completely amputated, and the remaining fingers were torn to pieces in the skin. I'm sure Haruhiko got his wound from being shot in the chest, but what in the world happened to his right hand? No matter how much I think about it, I don't think my hand would look like this if I was shot by a bullet. Rather than a gun, it's like he got caught in a dynamite-like explosion. I think it's a little seared when I look at it closely. I wonder what kind of gun was it that shot Haruhiko. And it is urgent we find out the identity of the object that caused the wound on the right hand. There are no more noticeable clues, and I couldn't see any more of my friend's terrible body, so I decided to stop and get up. Okay, is that all the physical stuff? I hope so. Let's talk to the people now. Mikara, I want to ask you something. You're noisy. Since when did you get along with me talking so freely? Get lost. Even so, I thought we would cooperate a little by passing the same point of death, but it seems to have gotten worse. In this case, it might be better to cooperate with Kinjo as much as possible with this limited time. Kinjo. Maeda. In the end, I can't hide the awkward mood. Kinjo told me to focus only on the investigation, but I was still worried about it. Yes, do you have anything to ask about the case? Well, I mean, Haruhiko's body, he wasn't killed instantly, right? Indeed, in fact, there was a hole in the chest, and even in the Monokuma file it said that to be an excessive bleeding death due to a gunshot wound. A gun. Until now, thanks to the layout of the school, there were murders with items that would be common in everyday life. I think that there would be a person who was shot to death. It's fine, you guys might not be familiar, but I have my fair share of gunshots. If there's something you don't know, it's fine to ask. Is it because the incident happened? Even though there was a conflict less than 24 hours ago, Kinjo wasn't much different from the way he usually treats me. Well, maybe it's the gun and the chest wound. Would it be better to see this as an immediate death? No, I don't think Haruhiko was close to immediate death. Why is that? Even if it was on the chest, it's not the heart. It's the right chest. The bullet passes through the body. Since it wasn't stuck, it would have been possible to move for a short amount of time rather than die immediately. It wasn't stuck, you mean it penetrated the body? Wouldn't it be more dangerous then? There are surprisingly many people who think that way, but in reality it's better for a bullet to pass through the body than to be stuck in it. There are three types of layer damage to the body. One is bleeding, another is burning, last one is impact of the bullet's kinetic energy. If you look at it one by one, it is difficult to inflict great damage due to the small surface area. In case of burns, and it is rare that from excessive bleeding that you die immediately. But the story of the shock caused by the kinetic energy is different. But if you get hit with a fist or a bat, it will be different to move due to the impact, right? That's, well, if you're an ordinary person who doesn't have any special training, that would be even worse. Similarly, when a bullet gets stuck inside the body, all the kinetic energy turns into shock energy, creating instantaneous large space in the body. The fact that this space has been created means that the body has been greatly shocked. This shock will cause non-negligible damage and damage to the surrounding organs as well. Really, I'm not sure what you mean exactly, but anyways, that means penetration is better alternative than getting stuck, right? That's what it means. In fact, in some foreign countries, there are bullets that split the front part of the bullet and cause fragments to get stuck in the body. That's terrible. It's good for hunting. The bullet did this. Hollow points, as I say. The bullet did this. It was a fatal injury to be hit by this bullet, whether it was stuck or it was pierced in the body. Especially in the case of Haruhiko, as Maeda said the chest was hit, so even if it was pierced, there was a high possibility that a hole in his lungs was pierced through. As I said before, it's only less shocking, and it must have died shortly after having difficulty breathing and bleeding. It's hard. Guns should only be cheap for the wicked. What is he... What? I don't... Huh? Unless it's in the extreme... in an extreme game. This is an extreme situation. It doesn't really seem like a need to be talked about. Anyways, I'll move to another place, since the arsenal has been roughly investigated. Make sure to investigate carefully if you find something. Let me know, Maeda. Kinjo, there was an incident yesterday and he seemed a lot unstable recently, but it seems everything is okay because of the current one. Was it only me that had a hard time dealing with it? Seriously, Kinjo is a completely different person from the first time we met. The time he was hostile to us, and the time of the investigation. For now, let's check what Kinjo told me. I didn't really understand it all, but in summary, it's better to be pierced from the bullet than having it stuck. Haruhiko's case was the latter. Was it like this? Maeda-kun. Tara, what are you doing without investigating? I'm sorry, the body is so terrible. I understand it's hard, but we can't help it. We'll have to do it. We have to do our own investigation as far as we can. I know, it's been about a week since Haruhico's case. I'll do my best. Satsuki, why are you standing still? Doing nothing. Yuki, what am I supposed to do? It's because of Haru? It seems too horrible, but now we have no choice but to investigate even if it sounds cheap. In order to survive. To survive, is it? Satsuki? No, yeah, the investigation. I have to, yeah. She was so quiet that it wasn't like Satsuki at all, and the girl that went rampant like always. It seems like that Haruhiko's death hurt her more than any of us. It's like, yes, every case, all the other characters are useless. Because then the game couldn't give us the task of doing all the logic work in the trial. Okay. The note thing. Kinjo, what are you doing in front of the door? Maeda, you're here. There was something I was going to check right now, but if it's okay, why don't we check together? Let's check this out together. What are you looking for? We're looking at it. This is always suspicious because why did, like, Kinjo know this note would be there? It opened, wasn't this room? Indeed, this was Haruhiko Kobashikawa's room. I borrowed the key from his corpse. Because this is an incident, it is a closed space with limited movement. It's better to search everywhere as possible. Because in this incident, it was an enclosed space with limited movement. It's best to search everywhere. So I had to follow Kinjo and investigate Haru's room. It's a room that's no different from my room, shockingly enough. Wait, look at this. There's something of interest here. Some kind of paper. To Haruhiko, I have something to say. If you read this, why don't you come to the arsenal? I'm not going to kill you. I hope you believe me. I'll be waiting. This is... The letter was written by the killer. It's the same method that was when Maki was killed. Besides, this letter wasn't torn like last time. It's proof that the culprit couldn't even mess with... Huh? That sentence didn't make sense. However, this seems a little more than what it takes. What it takes? I'll ask you, Maeda, after reading this, would you go to the arsenal? I mean, by the time this letter was sent, they would kill me. Just after we hit each other and fought. In that situation, if I received a letter like this from you, that was also the way Mitsuhiro Higo was putting a letter down the door. Down the door? How do you even know that? Can't you tell by a glance? There's no reason to meet face to face and give a letter. And there's no other way to send a letter in a locked room like this. It's definitely the first time anyone thinks of calling themselves out for murder. But why did Haruhiko go directly to the arsenal? Well, but couldn't it have been that he didn't know because it was impossible to think normally? I mean, just before we went crazy. No, we were already crazy. If you look at the source of that madness, it's due to being starved and dying because we couldn't eat food, and the fear that someone might kill you. In other words, it's because of the self-defense fear of death. I don't want to die. So you'd rather judge things related to death more rationally than usual in extreme situations. Still, the question remains, why did Haruhiko go through death's door by all means? Is it because he believed it? What? Haruhiko probably believed. He believed that no one in our group that there was no one in our group that could commit murder. He believed until the very end. If we are all in the verge of releasing the strings, if we were all on the verge of releasing the strings of reason, but it was no, there is no if. We were all on the verge of releasing the strings of reason, but it was different for him, for Haruhiko. He was the same. He wasn't he wasn't sane, but he still opposed the idea of murder to the end. Kinjo, you did that too, right? You didn't want we didn't want to ask you, but we've all gotten weird. He pled to you to do something, because Haruhiko was like that. Even if they were insane, he would have trusted a friend and gone straight to the arsenal. Such stupidity. That's not worth the word trust. It's like jumping into death without being able to judge the situation. What's with that face? Were you hoping to get closer to me? Did you want me to be impressed by saying this was your way of showing your trust to others? Well, look at the result. He died because of his stupidity. That's the reason I'm far away from people like this. Kinjo. Enough, we're investigating now. We can't get excited over personal feelings. Well, whether Haruhiko acted that way because of mischief is withheld, but this letter is an important clue in the end. Just finding this is a great achievement. There seems to be nothing else special in the room other than this. I'll leave and check another place then. Let's see each other at the class trial. I thought he was okay, but Kinjo is, after all, having doubts in his own mind. If this class trial ends safely and we all survive, we'll have to seriously talk about Kinjo's state. Kurokawa, you were here. What about the arsenal investigation? I did it roughly. You aren't supposed to do it roughly. Maeda, I want you to listen to me. Huh? There's a problem with the alibis. During dawn, I kept monitoring the hallway. You were, Kurokawa? Are you okay? I didn't really know, but you could have died because of hunger. It's okay, I'm used to it. You're used to it. Anyway, about the alibis, my room is right next to the arsenal. Unfortunately, because of the soundproofness, I couldn't hear anything inside the arsenal. Only the sound of the arsenal door opening and closing could be heard. That means you saw it? You saw who went into the arsenal? I heard the sounds. I couldn't see them from this room. But I could see the moment when they were passing by the door of my room. Isn't that right next to the arsenal anyway? If I had passed in front of Kurokawa's room and headed to the arsenal, no. This is the hallway on the left side in front of the arsenal. Due to the structure of the ballroom, if you turn to the other side and enter the arsenal, you can move without being seen by Kurokawa. That's right, but at least I've seen a few people that entered the arsenal. Really, who were they? One is Haruhiko, and the other? The rest, I'll tell you in the trial. Suddenly, I've thought about investigating. Still a weird girl as usual. But thanks to Kurokawa, this case could be solved fairly easily. Apart from that, I'm worried about Kurokawa's health. She usually looks weak and nervous, but this time, she couldn't even sleep or eat at all. I hope she's okay. It didn't finish. What am I missing? Oh, she's in here now. I'd like to investigate the blood. The blood stains somehow. How do I get the blood stains investigated? Oh, okay. You get Kinjo out of here. I couldn't see it properly because of the smoke, but when I suddenly stopped to look at it, I could find that there were unnatural blood stain on the floor. Blood traces danced throughout the arsenal, and if Haruhiko wandered around the arsenal after being shot, what is this unnatural blood stain? It's only obvious that it's Haru's blood, but rather than trying to run away after being shot, just by looking at the blood spots, it seems as if he was trying to move in the arsenal all over the place. Simply put, it was so bizarre. Is it reasonable to assume that this degree of descriptive blood was made by the killer dragging Haruhiko around unconscious? Well, for now, I can only think of it as a possibility, but there must be some reason for the blood to be left in this way. There we go. Hello, can everyone hear me? It's already time. Anyways, it's happened only inside the ballroom, so there is not much to investigate, right? Now then, everyone, please gather in front of the entrance to the courtroom. So it's already the end of the investigation. No matter how much I do this, it's too short. I don't think I've recovered my sensitivity yet on my body. Ugh. But it can't be helped. I did my best to investigate as much as I could. All that remains is what we have investigated so far, and we have no choice but to guess the killer with everyone else. Everyone's here. Yes. Oh, Maeda's here. Then let's start the trial. Only the tension is flowing. The mood terribly awkward. While in the ballroom, the world of a lawless land was so colorless and hard. Above all, the number of people was too small. 7 people, including me. Besides, one of us is the culprit who killed Haruhiko. Even if this trial is safely over, the criminal will be executed. Only 6 people will remain. 6. It's a number that didn't feel real. When was our head count been reduced to this extent? Looks like everyone has gathered. Well, it's easier to manage people since the numbers have been reduced, but isn't everyone's tension too low? Events that are washed out like class trials are more lively, you know. It's no fun because there's no reaction at all. Geez, I think by tension you should mean lively, like energeticness. Because there is tension. There's just not English borrowed word in Japan tension. It's no fun because there's no reaction at all. Geez, now then, it's okay. It's already the 4th time, right? This is the start of a fun class trial, so get on the elevator. Whatever the case, I have to go beyond this class trial. The later issues are for later. Everyone has their faces as if they were determined to do something even in an awkward mood. Different thoughts intersect each other, and we run into a hell called the class trial once again. We finally escaped from the ballroom due to the death of Kobashi Kawakun. And the risk of being hungry and death. I am not happy at all. We can only survive by someone's sacrifice. And that's the same for the class trials. The expense of one criminal. The system where everyone lives. I'm so sad that I have to do this again. Kobazing. Let's move. This case. No. You don't have to think so complicated. What do you want? Don't worry about me. I'm not crying. something like opening the door and let's go. The gotcha is like let's go. Moon is door. Like, get the cursor in here. This is door. This is let's go. So, something like that. At first I thought that this elevator was so narrow that it felt full, but now it's so wide. I look at the 6 other than me. In heavy silence, one by one. Kinjo is now in a complete trial mode. In this state, Kinjo does a 180-degree change. He only uses his head to break through the events before his eyes. But it is because of our mood that it looks like there's an anxious expression somewhere. Iranami, who's not lost her bright appearance at any time, she was still unable to escape from her shock of losing Haru. She wasn't the same. She wasn't the same Satsuki anymore, and her shaggy appearance made even the beholder's heart ache. Kurokawa was always the same. She just stayed consistent with silence, and I couldn't even tell what she was thinking. Taira looked very tired. She doesn't want to lose any more friends, and she doesn't want to go through class trials anymore. That kind of heart seemed to linger on her face. Teruya was restless. After the incident, I may feel like that Teruya's behavior is strange. If you think about it, Teruya was like this at every trial, so it's not unusual. Mikara wasn't saying that she'd watch us shovel as usual, but she was thinking of something unfamiliar to Mikaru. Like something unexpected even for her. Is there anything that will get us stuck in this case? Different thoughts and different beliefs cross between each other. At the point where there are only 7 people left, we were thinking differently, but we have to overcome this. A hell-like 4th class trial. The elevator stops, as if we had made an appointment. We step at the same time without a special signal, towards a very familiar courtroom.
Ah, you're here. I was waiting. How are you guys? It's been a long time, hasn't it?
You met with us right after the murder happened, like a while ago, though?
Nah, I mean meeting as a judge. Well, it's been more than a week since the last trial. Instead of that, this presiding judge is more stylish than usual.
Don't be useless and start the damn thing already.
Shocked. Well, I'm always neglected, but this time I'm getting more thorns. Don't you think so, Maeda-kun?
I don't care. Start as Mikaru said already.
Even Maeda-kun is rude to me. This could be a sign to represent your heartache. Yeah, well, I'll start as you want. Now, shall we start right away? To uncover the truth of the prolonged stay in the ballroom incident for more than a week, we have this all-exciting, heart-pounding class trial.
The only thing that's the same as usual is Monokuma. Each one of us were in a more serious mode. Unlike usual, the tenseness of this trial, the feeling of losing a dear friend to us. The reasons were different, but in the end we came here for the class trial. Now all that remains is to find the culprit by confronting all the clues, testimonies, and test our wits that we have. Haruhiko, our relationship with him was finally bonding us together in the middle. He was like a licorice in a drugstore. With Satsuki, he always showed his bright side, and at the same time, his love for his friend was twice as deep as anyone else's. As a result, thanks to his death, we were able to eat and survive. But Haruhiko couldn't eat anymore. It was an unavoidable choice to live, but as a result, there's a culprit that killed Haruhiko. If we don't find them, we will all die in the end. The atmosphere of the court is filled with silence. Our trial finally begins. A deadly discussion. A deadly deception. A deadly betrayal. A deadly conclusion, huh? A deadly defense. A deadly trust? Is that even right? A deadly class trial. Okay, I'll stop here.